it's unacceptable. It's a lot of hurtful, hateful speech out there that's happening, and it's unacceptable.
There's no room for any kind of racism. Now, I'm not calling everybody racist. I'm not calling most folks, but the few who are, you know who the hell you are. Calm the hell down.
Caitlin Clark's season with the Indiana Fever ended with an 87-81 loss to the Connecticut Sun, but the focus quickly shifted to the comments made by Alyssa Thomas regarding fan abuse.
Caitlin Clark's season with the Indiana Fever ended with an 87-81 loss to the Connecticut Sun in Game 2 of their first-round series. Afterwards, five-time WNBA All-Star Alyssa Thomas did not hold back when discussing the abuse she faced from Indiana Fever fans.
Alyssa Thomas didn't hold back when addressing the harsh treatment she faced from Fever fans, highlighting the need for accountability and sportsmanship.
Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it, and we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it. And basketball is headed in a great direction, but we don't want fans that are going to degrade us and call us racial names. I mean, we already see what's happening in the world and what we have to deal with in that aspect. And we come to play basketball for our job, and it's fun, but we don't want to go to work every day and have social media blown up over things like that. It's uncalled for, and something needs to be done, whether it's them checking their fans or this league checking. There's no time for it anymore.
In response to Thomas's remarks, the WNBA issued a statement condemning the abuse, emphasizing that such behavior is unacceptable in any context.
Following those strong comments, the WNBA released the following statement. In part, it read, "While we welcome a growing fan base, the W will not tolerate racist, derogatory, or threatening comments made about players, teams, and anyone affiliated with the league." So obviously we discussed the progress, but still a long way to go.
Thomas expressed her frustration with the media for giving attention to trolls and letting their negativity overshadow the athletes' achievements.
The thing that frustrates me the most is that, and is that we, I say we because, I work in television as well, but we in the media have to do a better job of not allowing trolls in social media to become the story. And I feel like we have allowed trolls in social media to frame the narrative of what the story is. And it's unacceptable. It's a lot of hurtful, hateful speech out there that's happening, and it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for any of these guys. This is basketball, and this is their job, and they're doing the best they can. And when it gets personal, to me, that is just when, there's no reason for it. And these guys have to listen and watch that. Social media is their life. That's just what they do. And they have to read and see these things constantly. And just all the stories that are made up, just of what people see or think they see.
Caitlin, when your head coach came out with a statement today saying she denounces all the racism that some people have felt in this league, players, trolls online, all those things, as one of the biggest stars in this league, what are your thoughts on the things not only your teammates have to endure, but just the entire league? And obviously, you spoke on this before, but just now that your coach and your GM are talking about it as well.
Yeah, it's definitely upsetting. I don't think nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans, those are trolls, and it's a real disservice to the people in our league, the organization, the WNBA. But there are a lot of really good fans, whether they've been fans for 20 plus years or whether they're new fans in our league. I think continuing to uplift this league in a very positive light is the best thing that we can do, because there are so many great players. There's so many great teams. There are so many positive storylines that can be written and celebrated. And for me, that's why I became a fan of this league, is these people were my idols. I grew up wanting to be like them. So I think continuing to uplift and, represent this league in a positive way is the best thing that we can do.
Known for her reserved demeanor, Alyssa Thomas's decision to speak out underscores the seriousness of the issue at hand.
Alyssa Thomas is one of the most quiet, woman of few words, does not mince her words, lets her game speak for herself type of people you will ever meet. She's one of those people also that has an alter ego on the court. She's a bully, she plays hard, she plays well, but off the court, she is like so soft-spoken. So if she's choosing to speak, there is a reason. Let's talk about this Connecticut Sun series, right? In this series, we saw Caitlin Clark get poked in the eye. And Caitlin said in media after that, that was accidental, that was unintentional. But we saw reporters gaslighting that situation, trying to make more of it, speaking to amplifying the wrong narratives. As a result of that, Dejanay Carrington, who has been vocal about the issues that players have dealt with over the course of this WNBA season with the rhetoric, posted her getting called the N-word countlessly, getting threats to her life based off of an incident that Caitlin Clark said this was a basketball type of thing. I pushed through, we played a game, she played a good game after that. So she minimized it, tried to erase it, and tried to send a message like, y'all, there's nothing here. That was one incident. When this season started on the Indiana Fever, Aaliyah Boston said, hey, for my mental health, after starting 1NA, I am off social media. Midway through the season, the Chicago Diamond DeShields, this is a situation that happened to her. She recently survived having a spinal tumor. She was in the hospital. We did specials on her on ESPN. Her playing basketball right now is a miracle. Some of the fans that were unhappy with her one play, a defensive play, called for that same tumor for her to. Like, this is the rhetoric that is happening on plays that should be non-factors, right? But instead, that's what the players have been dealing with from Aaliyah Boston, Diamond DeShields, and now Dejanay Carrington. That's the issue that WM players are speaking to. The rhetoric has nothing, like, we all know, I know what it's like to be called bad words as an athlete. I got called bad words when I was in high school in Texas.
The players have voiced their concerns, calling for an end to this toxic environment. Yet it seems the problem persists.
We deal with that, but this is completely out of bounds. And I do think over the course of the year, the players have been saying something needs to stop. We need to show people who we are. We need the commissioner to speak on this, which the WNBA came for had a statement yesterday, but things just haven't been the way it needed to in sort of setting the tone, especially with this new influx of fans on what we stand for and what we don't. I think Caitlin has used her voice in the ways that she has tried to, but still, it's been falling short, and that's why I'm grateful for Alyssa choosing this moment after they advance to speak on it. She would not do it unless she felt like it was the right thing to do.
Let me say this. I would encourage everybody to refer to Thursday morning's episode of First Take on ESPN, where Janae Ogumike, who is an outstanding basketball analyst for the network, and also a former WNBA player, former WNBA Rookie of the Year, by the way, she's friends with Alyssa Thomas, and went out of her way to highlight how on the court, as ferocious as Thomas is, off the court, she's a quiet storm. She doesn't say much and doesn't bother anybody. And so for her to feel compelled to speak out in the way that she spoke out shows you how alarming what she was saying has really been and what attention needs to be brought to it. Janae Ogumike, listen to what she had to say. As far as Alyssa Thomas goes, you are a wonderful, wonderful woman. You are fabulous, and thank you for bringing up this subject. Because if you are Caitlin Clark fans, there's no room for any kind of racism. Now, I'm not calling everybody racist. I'm not calling most folks. But the few who are, you know who the hell you are. Calm the hell down. Support Caitlin Clark, because recognize that when you act that way, you stain her name as well because of your association to her. Not that anybody would think that she thinks like that. But the point is, what is your problem? She is a phenomenal, phenomenal talent and an even better person. I happen to have met and did an event with Caitlin Clark. I think she's wonderful. You don't have to act that way, particularly when you're a fan base that represents her.
This situation echoes the complaints made years ago by Allen Iverson about the fan culture in Indianapolis, showing a troubling pattern.
And if you are from the city of Indianapolis, if you are in Indiana, I will remind y'all years ago, Allen Iverson complained about the same thing. What he heard from those fans. She does play for the Indiana Fever. So you need to safeguard yourself from having or developing that kind of reputation. I love going to Indiana to watch games because I think it's an absolute great fan base. But you got to know how to act. You got to know how to act.
All of this conversation around Indiana Fever fans, it's all just misguided over-hatred of Caitlin Clark and pointing the finger at those guys, they're the racists, when really, y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate Caitlin Clark and the new fan base that she brought and justifying, again, as we talked about yesterday, Nike won't even put out a Caitlin Clark commercial, won't put out a Caitlin Clark shoe because Nike has decided that they must bow to the angry black feminists, the Black Lives Matter movement, the feminist movement overall, the whole identity politics movement of, oh no, yes, Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in sports, but Nike, in order to promote equity and fairness and diversity and inclusion, you must spend all of your money promoting Asia Wilson, someone most people don't know exists and don't care about. You have to do that out of racial equity and racial justice. Don't lean into Caitlin Clark, who could make you a bunch of money when your stock is tanking and you've had to fire your CEO. Lean into Asia Wilson, a 6'5" person no one really knows or cares about. And it's not our fault. Tim Duncan, as was pointed out yesterday, great basketball player. No one cared. He didn't sell shoes. Allen Iverson did. Michael Jordan did. Kobe did. LeBron did. Tim Duncan was great. He didn't sell shoes. He wasn't an exciting player. No one cared.
Fans should support their teams without resorting to harmful behavior. The players deserve better than to be judged by a few bad apples.
They sold shoes with the guys that sell shoes. Caitlin Clark could sell shoes, but no. Her fan base is hated. It's the wrong type of fans. They tweet mean things to Alyssa Thomas. This stuff is a joke. And what I will give Christy Sides credit for, and I know many people will be calling for Christy Sides to be fired. I'm not gonna be one of them at this point. I think she did walk into, and they inherited a very tough situation. The WNBA has been ignored for 27 years. Now it comes with not just an incremental increase of media attention and fan attention, but with a monumental increase of media attention and fan attention. And no one in the WNBA was prepared to handle this. They have bad leadership in Kathy Engelbert. They have bad leadership in Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA. These are weak, ineffectual leaders that don't know what they're doing. They've been installed. They don't have any real instincts. They're not qualified for their jobs. And so they've allowed the Caitlin Clark abuse to go on and on and on while everybody pretends, oh, it's Caitlin Clark's fans. They're on Twitter and they're horrible. They focus on that rather than the real persecution and inappropriate behavior of their very own WNBA players. Those have been the real bigots. They hate Caitlin Clark. And I occasionally try to defend Cheryl Swopes, but at this point, it's just crystal clear. I haven't spent much time trying to defend Angel Reese. I've spent a tiny bit, but I just can't.
There's a narrative that Angel Reese is riding the coattails of Caitlin Clark's popularity, which raises questions about the dynamics of media attention in sports.
Angel Reese is a hater, and her whole media popularity, her whole platform is built off the back of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is Kunta Clark. She's the actual slave that everybody else is exploiting for their benefit. Angel Reese included at the top of that list. Now Alyssa Thomas jumps in and says, oh, let me get my piece. Dejanay Carrington jumps in, let me get my piece. I want to play you a clip last night. This is how Dejanay Carrington, as we've talked about earlier this week, in game 1, poked Caitlin Clark in the eye intentionally, in my view, and in most rational people's view. Your hands don't curl up, you jab people in the eye and you pull your hand back immediately after you've accomplished your goal. Nothing happens to Dejanay Carrington. This isn't really even discussed. She gets questioned about it once. Caitlin Clark gets questioned about it. Caitlin Clark takes the high road. She's not engaging. Hats off to Caitlin Clark. But this is how lightly this is taken. First thing I want to show you is I want to unpack it in context. Marina Mayberry hits a dagger three that basically decides last night's game very late in the fourth quarter. And it comes as a byproduct of, Caitlin, I love you to, but girl, if you don't work on that defense, you ain't winning no championships. Not in the WNBA. Love you to, got to improve defensively.
When Caitlin Clark suffered an eye injury during a game, the lack of a foul call and subsequent investigation raised eyebrows about the treatment of players in high-stakes situations.
Now I want to move you to the celebration of the dagger three that Mayberry had with Dejanay Carrington. Play the clip. You see that? It's just a joke. Poke me in my eye, she tells Dejanay Carrington, poke me in my eye, and they just laugh it off. See, Caitlin Clark got poked in the eye and injured, black eye. You can still see the black eye last night. There was no foul called during game one when it happened. There was no investigation of whether this was a flagrant act and deserved any type of penalty. Totally ignored. Nothing. Your most important player, the person that's driving all of your engagement, everybody's making money off Caitlin Clark. She gets gouged in the eye by a player who clearly hates her. We've seen the previous behavior this season. We've seen her tweets, clearly hates her. WNBA, there's no statement being made. Hey, we got to be more careful. We got these ladies with these long fingernails. We can't have this happen. We investigated this. We don't think it's intentional. We do think it's intentional. None of that happened. It's an actual joke that it did happen. Something that the players can joke and laugh about and mock later. But oh my God, let an Indiana Fever fan tweet anything to any player and the WNBA is gonna release a statement. And Alyssa Thomas and these other girls are gonna hold press conferences. Have you seen these tweets? Oh, how hurtful they are. Sticks and fingernails may put out my eye, but words, that's what really
The current state of the league is troubling. While we want to see fair play and respect for all athletes, it's hard to ignore the mixed feelings surrounding these controversies.
This league is insane. And that's why I have mixed feelings. I'm going to miss Caitlin Clark. Hopefully I don't see her on the basketball court again until April, until next WNBA season. But I'm so glad I don't have to watch the rest of this. I've been so turned off by most of these players in the WNBA. It's incredible. No wonder they don't want us. Because if we look at what they are, we get repulsed.
I ran into people who were born in the 40s a couple of weeks ago that were telling me it's worse now than it was in the 60s. In the 60s, Think about that. Civil rights legislation is 1964. Voting rights, 1965. They're saying it's worse now than it was then.
Racial tension.
Racial tension, okay? So you see this girl, Caitlin Clark, and this is not her fault. It's not her fault. What she doing is stepping on the basketball court and playing. It's certainly not the fault of players that are competing against her. They did nothing wrong. But knowing how our society can be, we see the ugliness that exists in certain parts of the country. All I'm saying is you can't ignore it because it's real. That's why so many people are desperate for us to vote one way instead of the other. Because they're looking at our society and they're saying, we won't go back, we won't go back, don't let us go back. There's certain people that want us to go back to a different time, blah, blah, blah. We've heard all of that. It's real. We want to act like, well, let's not focus on that. Let's just march forward and let's just move forward. Well, guess what? You can't move forward when you ignoring the past. You got to build from the past, learn from it, and know how to eradicate it in order to march forward. And This is a perfect example, a small one, but nevertheless a perfect example of illuminating the kind of society that we're still living in. No matter how far forward we have moved, there are people who wish and crave that there was a different time that exists in this world right now. And it even shows up on the damn basketball court.